Going on YouTube, we can see that the Apple TV 4K 3rd Gen seems to get an annual review. So why don't we take a look at this, the Apple TV 3rd generation here in 2025. This is the Apple TV 3rd Gen non-4K, came out in 2012, a whopping 13 years ago, with an MSRP of $99 USD. Now adjusting that for inflation is around $137.85. So let's check out what we get for $137.85. Thank you to Austin Evans for making an unboxing video back in 2012. We can see through him that we get the device itself, the controller, a power cord, as well as some Apple paperwork, and that's pretty much about it. Now that we have everything unboxed, let's check out the Apple TV itself. Now, the device came in two different models, either the A1427, which we have here today, or the Revision A version, which is the A1469. Now, the specific information comparing the 1427 to the 1469 are not really stated anywhere. The only info we know between the two are the revised version came out in 2013 with minor hardware improvements and bug fixes. Now, I said before that they're pretty much identical, just a few changes. Supposedly there's new silicon in between the two models. Just the new Apple A5 chip that just gets better power consumption. Even though there are some changes, why don't we check out the Apple TV we have now and then get on to actually setting up this device. So back to the overall hardware features and specs. We'll start out with the Apple TV itself and then we'll move on to the controller. Starting with its dimensions, has a height of 23mm by 98mm by 98mm, or around 0.9 inches by 3.9 inches by 3.9 inches. It's got a weight of around 272 grams, or about 0.6 pounds. Now real quick, even though my scale says 253, that equals about 0.55 pounds. We're just going to go with the reading of 0.6 pounds as this information is stated on Apple's website. Continue on with the device itself. It's got a light in the front as well as its IR receiver for the remote. Turning it around, we have the built-in 6-watt universal power supply. Its HDMI port capable of 1080p playback. A micro USB for service and support. Its optical audio port supporting Dolby Digital 5.1 surround sound, but not all titles support it. And then its 10 by 100 base T Ethernet port. The outside of the Apple TV is made with a polycarbonate and has a rubber base. That pretty much covers everything on the outside. So let's check out the internals. Tearing the device down, thank you to iFixit. We have the Apple A5 single core processor with supposedly 512 gigabytes of DDR2 SD RAM, 8 gigs of Toshiba NAND flash, used more for caching data during media playback rather than storing it, and what appears to be the same Broadcom BCM 4330 Wi-Fi chip that we get in the original 3rd Gen iPad. Supports dual band 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz. It also supports Bluetooth, support for Apple Wireless Keyboard, which requires Apple TV Software 5.2 relater. There are a few more chips in the back, but that pretty much covers all the physical hardware. It also has an 8 out of 10 on the repairability score. Thank you for no glue and all screws. The TV remote, on the other hand, is made of aluminum and has that same polycarbonate buttons, and that's it. No microphone for Siri, and an easily removable CR2032 or BR2032 lithium 3-volt coin battery. The weight, on the other hand, is 34 grams or 0.075 pounds. Alright, with all the hardware out of the way, let's talk software. Let's plug our Apple TV in and get into it. Before we set up our Apple TV, I do want to cover some things first. According to Apple, you're going to need certain accounts to access certain applications. For example, if you want anything through a subscription service that is not Apple oriented, you will need an own dedicated account and subscription for that service. For example, Amazon Prime or Netflix, you will need your own account to actually use those applications. But if you want anything Apple oriented, just a basic Apple account, and then they'll have their own designated subscriptions following that. Before we get into the software specs of audio and video formatting, here are the system requirements according to Apple. You do need a specific 802.11a, B, G, or N for Wi-Fi to support certain video streaming, an iTunes Store account for buying and renting movies, Netflix account for streaming that, and then everything else pretty much just needs certain subscription services to access their content. And then if you want to stream media from your Mac or PC, you will need iTunes 10.6 or later. Everything is up to date in today's generation of iTunes though, so there's no worrying about that. For software specific specs in video formats, audio formats, photo formats, and TV compatibility, there are a lot, so we're just going to leave here on screen what they actually are according to Apple. So if you have a specific, video you're trying to play back, just make sure it's compatible here. The biggest things we're going to take a look at are H.264 up to 1080p at 30 FPS, which is perfectly fine for streaming content playback. And then basic 1080p 720p at 60 to 50 Hz for TV compatibility, which are pretty much standard in today's technology, so we don't have to worry about no device compatibility for most devices. So now that we've covered pretty much everything, let's see how this thing actually works today. Alright, so I have our Apple TV here plugged in. Just going to connect it to the internet real quick. Alright, now that's connected to the internet. We just keep hitting the menu button. Now we are on the home screen. Seems like Apple TV, the application still works. Movies, we can still access Apple Movies. TV shows work. Apple Music works nicely. Now I don't have anything like Vivo or any of the other kind of pre-installed applications, so we're just going to check out Amazon Prime Video. So for media playback, we're going to check out something like Psych. We can see that it kind of gets stuck on accessing Prime Video. Unsure if this is because of my account or my internet, but it seems to be doing the same thing throughout a couple of different shows. This doesn't mean that Amazon Prime doesn't work on the Apple TV, could just need to be rebooted, but let's test out a couple more things first. Let's check out a show that has ads, kind of like how Freevee works. So let's just pick something under free movies and TV. Now right here included with Freevee, and let's hit play. Now Freevee is just a free subscription through Amazon that does have ads. If we pause it real quick, it doesn't seem like we have any view time ads. Now the thing with Freevee is it is limited to just mobile and certain applications, meaning we can't do Freevee on our desktop as it's more specified under Amazon Prime Video. There are some things included, but it's actually more oriented for mobile. So we can test the same thing by going here to our iPhone and doing the same thing through the Freevee application to see if ads pop up. Alright, so here we are on our iPhone watching show on Freevee. Of course, we have some ads playing. The funny thing is, before, when we were watching it on our Apple TV, we actually didn't get any ads playing. So real quick, I just wanted to clarify some things I said earlier. If we go to Amazon Prime Video on our desktop, just through the basic web, now everything here on desktop will not be listed as freebie. It will be listed as watch for free, and then we'll just have basic ads throughout the entire viewing process. Now on mobile app or anything like our Apple TV, it will say freebie instead of watch for free, but it's kind of the same thing here on desktop, just says watch for free. And if we pick something like, I guess, Hitman's Bodyguard, this program is only available with ads, meaning it's through the freebie platform. Alright, with all of that out of the way, we can see that, so it seems like this Apple TV 3rd generation non-4K still holds up pretty much well to this day, which is great. The fact that it's still in its stock OS state and all these features and media sources still supported is a nice thing to see. Now I know we had some hiccups through Amazon Prime Media playback, but everything else seems to be working. Could just be my internet again, or just need to reboot our Apple TV. Now I keep saying stock OS because we can install this thing called Black Box on this thing, which is released actually back in 2021 for both the Apple TV 2nd and 3rd gen non-4K. Now following this video, I will create a tutorial for anyone looking to jailbreak their Apple TV non-4K 2nd or 3rd gen. But before we do that, let's check out what we get in this jailbreak to see if it's worth it or not. So after the difficulty that is jailbreaking our A1427 Apple TV, the only thing we get on this is just the Kodi app. And even if we cycle through Reddit or any other forum page, even in its current state, it's kind of useless. The difficulty is because there really is no benefit in jailbreaking your Apple TV here in 2025, or at least it's not worth the 2nd or 3rd gen. Now this doesn't stop you from actually using the device. It's just there's no real reason to jailbreak it. Just use it as is, or don't even get it at all. Alright, we got a couple more things let's check out, so let's get into that. Before we see the final pros and cons and end this video, I wanted to take a moment and check out the current used market for the A1469 or A1427 3rd gen Apple TVs. So currently we can get one for 10 to 20 bucks, sometimes with or without the controller. So a lot of these are for sale with or without the remote, and some of them actually have no cord. This is for around 10 to 20 bucks, depending on which one you see for sale. This thing's also recently sold for 23 bucks. This one sold for 5 without the cords or TV remote. So you can seem to pick one up pretty often depending on who's selling them for like 5 bucks. And then 10 to 15 maybe if you can get one with cords and a TV remote. This 4K 3rd generation sold for 36. Yeah, these things seem to sell for like 15 to 20 bucks, sometimes with or without controllers and cables. So we're just gonna move on to the good and the bad, and then we'll finalize this video out. Alright, so the good, everything seems to still work. Even the difficulty that it is jailbreaking this thing, everything holds up. We can see that on Amazon Prime Video, there are no ads. So that's a benefit. The cons are that it's old and there are better alternatives out there. And that brings us to the end of our review. The Apple TV 3rd gen still holds up to this day. Whether you have it stock or jailbroken, this alone makes it a great travel companion. I love bringing it to hotels or other places when traveling, especially since I don't have to log into my streaming accounts on their hardware. Plus, with some hotels lacking smart TVs, it's an even better solution. So, after all that, would I recommend getting one? No. Many newer devices offer more features than this Apple TV. If you're looking for something to travel with, if you want something more simple, go with a Chromecast or an Amazon Fire Stick. But if you want something more customizable, then I would go with something like a Raspberry Pi. Doesn't matter which version you get, just set up your own streaming device. So, all in all, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.